Hey everyone, welcome back to Genai's Linux News. We're kicking things off today with a big one for the virtualization world. According to Firefox, the Linux 7.1 merge window has just pulled in a significant set of KVM. That's kernel-based virtual machine updates, and the headliner is what's being labeled as very experimental support for pKVM-protected guests. Now, pKVM is essentially a way to isolate virtual machines from the host kernel, giving guests a much stronger security boundary. Useful stuff for cloud environments and sensitive workloads. The fact that it's marked experimental means you probably don't want to run this in production just yet, but its inclusion in the mainline tree is a huge signal of where Linux virtualization is heading. Beyond pKVM, Firefox notes there are a whole suite of other KVM refinements in this merge batch, continuing to push KVM forward as one of the crown jewels of open-source virtualization. Linux 7.1 is shaping up to be a seriously packed kernel release, and we're only just getting started. Next up, here's a story that might make your jaw drop a little, even if you've been using Linux for years. Firefox is reporting that GNU Coreutils 9.11 has just landed, and it comes with some seriously impressive performance gains. We're talking about the WC command running multiple times faster than before, and get this, the classic cat command now running up to 15 times faster in certain scenarios. 15 times. That's not a typo. Now, for most casual users, cat feels instant already, but if you're processing large files, running scripts in tight loops, or building pipelines on big data, those gains are absolutely going to be felt. What makes this even more interesting is the context. The Rust-based Utils Coreutils project has been putting competitive pressure on the GNU implementations, and it looks like that healthy rivalry is pushing GNU to step up its game. Competition in open source, even between projects, is a beautiful thing, and your shell scripts are the winner here. Definitely worth updating if you haven't already. Alright, browser fans, Firefox just hit a big milestone. Mozilla has officially shipped Firefox 150, and both Firefox and OMG Ubuntu have the details. Linux users in particular are getting a treat with this one. Firefox 150 now includes a native GTK emoji picker, meaning you no longer need to fight with workarounds just to insert an emoji on Linux. It fits right into the desktop environment the way it should. But that's not all. OMG Ubuntu highlights that the split view feature, which debuted in Firefox 149 and lets you view two web pages side by side in a single tab, got a quality of life upgrade. You can now right-click any link and choose to open it directly in split view, and there's a new option to reverse the tab order. The PDF editor also saw multiple improvements in this release, including better page ordering controls. And Firefox notes that Firefox continues growing its AI ambitions alongside all of these user-facing features. Whether that excites you or makes you nervous probably depends on who you are, but for the Linux desktop experience, Firefox 150 is genuinely a step forward. Linux 7.1 continues to be a powerhouse release, and Firefox has been tracking two more major merge pulls that just landed. First, the memory management, or subsystem got a substantial round of optimizations. Andrew Morton submitted several pull requests packed with improvements to how the kernel handles RAM. Firefox points out this is especially welcome timing given that RAM prices have been trending upward lately. Squeezing more efficiency out of every gigabyte you've got is always a win. On the graphics side, Firefox is also reporting that the DRM, Direct Rendering Manager, driver changes for Linux 7.1 have been merged, and as usual, Intel and AMD are leading the charge. Intel and AMD GPU driver development continues at a healthy pace in the open-source world, with ongoing improvements to performance, stability, and hardware support. What's particularly exciting is that Firefox notes work continues to make Rust-based GPU drivers more viable, a slow but steady evolution that could reshape how Linux graphics drivers are built in the future. Between better memory handling and stronger GPU driver support, Linux 7.1 is really coming together. Here's a story that's going to make a lot of vintage hardware fans very happy. Firefox is reporting that Timur Christoph, a developer on Valve's Linux graphics driver team, has been on a mission to breathe new life into older AMD Radeon graphics cards. His work previously brought better support for GCN 1.0 and 1.1 Southern Islands and Sea Islands GPUs, and for Kaveri APUs, migrating them over to the modern AMD GPU driver stack, which unlocks better performance and Vulkan support through RADV. Now, Fornix reports he's pushed even further. The Radeon HD 7870 XT, a card that previously struggled on Linux, is now actually working properly. It's a testament to both Valve's investment in Linux gaming and the power of the open-source driver model that cards this old are getting this level of care. If you've got an old AMD GPU collecting dust, it might be worth giving it another shot on a modern Linux system. And honestly, this kind of work is exactly why the Linux gaming ecosystem keeps getting better year after year. Let's run through a few more important releases that dropped today. Starting with Box 64, Fornix reports that version 0.4.2 is out, and this x86-64 binary compatibility layer is now beginning work on a PowerPC 64 LE backend, while also adding support for Steam Runtime 3 and Proton 11. While FEXEMU gets a lot of attention thanks to Valve's backing for AArch64 devices, Box 64 keeps pushing forward on multiple CPU architectures, and that's great news for Linux on diverse hardware. Moving on, Fornix also reports that Git 2.54 is out, featuring a new experimental Git history command as developers continue marching toward Git 3.0. It's an iterative release, but the experimental history command is worth keeping an eye on as it matures. And on the image editing front, Fornix reports that GIMP 3.2.4 has been released with a fresh batch of bug fixes, including one fix for a bug in the XCF file format code that has apparently existed since 1999. Yes, 1999. That's a 27-year-old bug finally getting squashed. Layer workflow improvements also made it into this release according to OMG Ubuntu's coverage. Good things come to those who wait, even if it takes a few decades. Wrapping up today's headlines with a few more stories worth knowing about. First, Fornix reports that the Debian project has a new leader. Shruti Chandran has been elected as the new Debian project leader for 2026, running unopposed in this year's election. Congratulations to Shruti. Leading one of the oldest and most respected Linux distributions is no small task. Next, Fornix reports that LXQt 2.4 has been released, bringing more Wayland fixes and improvements to this lightweight Qt-based desktop environment. LXQt continues to carve out its niche alongside bigger names like GNOME 50 and KDE Plasma 6.6. Good to see it keeping pace with the modern Linux desktop. And for Arch Linux fans, Fornix reports that CachyOS has rolled out a supercharged build of the Linux 7.0 kernel for its users. Beyond just rebasing on upstream 7.0, CachyOS is carrying additional performance patches on top. So if you're already on CachyOS and care about squeezing every bit of performance out of your system, that update is waiting for you. Also worth a quick mention, its FOSS highlighted a slick new GUI tool called Pods that makes managing both Docker and Podman containers much less painful, built with a polished libadwaita interface. Great option if you want container management without living in the terminal.